You're watching the Chucktown Wind Report, Sunday, December the 20th update. Let's talk about winds and weather for the next few days. Looking at our surface map, our main feature here is this large dome of high pressure sitting over the southeast region right now, and that's providing a northerly flow this morning. It's going to start to turn a little bit more northeast today, and we do have a shot at a moderate pulse of east-northeast winds as we get into the afternoon, late morning afternoon hours. So this high pressure, the center being so close to us right now, is going to keep winds a little bit on the weaker side. If this were further north up over the northeast area, we'd probably see a stronger build out of it, but since it's not, probably looking at that center of high pressure sliding over the Delmarva area and then providing kind of a semi-moderate northeast to east-northeast flow today, starting around 11:30, 12 o'clock, probably going to start seeing 11 to 15 knots and maybe some higher pulses along the outer beaches and barrier islands where the peak heating of the day tends to do that backdoor sea breezing effect. So we may see some pulses of 13 to 17 knots, but that's on the lower confidence end. I'm going to call for 11 to 15 knots. Now as we get into tomorrow, this high pressure is going to drift out into the Atlantic. We're going to start to see more of an easterly flow into the coastline, maybe even east-southeast. Could be a slight gradient in the afternoon hours during peak heating, maybe getting right around 9 to 13 knots. So right around 10 knots to low teens for that afternoon build, and that's probably going to happen right on through Tuesday, where the high pressure really sets up out in this area and drives in maybe a slightly stronger easterly gradient, where we could see a few higher numbers, especially in those coastal breaks. But then Wednesday, we see a cold front start to draw across the country, and this high pressure expands and starts to bring in a southerly flow up the coastline ahead of that. And so we saw last time, we saw marine layering and hazing start, keep those winds decoupled along the beaches. So we should expect that, especially with the sea surface temperatures being down now around 58 degrees. We see that land and sea interface keeping the winds down along the immediate islands and then higher through the coastal breaks in Charleston Harbor and up rivers. So we could see 16 to 20 knots on Wednesday up rivers, just inside the harbor mouth and up rivers, and then along the beaches 8 to 12 knots. So not much going on in the way of winds for the next few days after today. And then Wednesday's our only shot if you're into the higher winds just inside the harbor mouth and up rivers. As we get into Thursday, things look to get a little bit messy as that cold front kind of pushes overhead and then starts to break up a little bit. So if we look at our our 5-day outlook, we start to see where this rain creeps into the area and some of the heavier stuff down over the Gulf, northern Gulf states, and then that slides in over our area by probably into Thursday and maybe even into Christmas. So we're hoping some of that breaks up by the time Friday rolls around for the Christmas beat. So looking at the GRU on radar, things look pretty clear right now from the visible satellite. Sun's still coming up and filling in these clouds. So you can see a little bit of cloud decking offshore over the Gulf Stream and widespread from that high pressure. Some of that troughing could come closer to the coastline to increase the gradient. Looking at infrared, we see all this troughing out west over Texas and Oklahoma starting to try to come together as a cold front, and that's going to slowly make its way towards the southeast. Water vapor imagery showing very dry air over our area, so no rain anticipated for today and even possibly into tomorrow. Things start to get a little bit more saturated in Tuesday and Wednesday ahead of that cold front, so that's where we'll be standing. Let's take a look at the surface map one more time. The gradient from this high pressure, the strongest gradient, is really laying in this area between central Florida and down into the Keys. So that's where the strongest gradient is, right through that cut where that troughing is around this high pressure. So as we go north, we see that gradient relax and come down. But for today, again, to cap it all off, we're going to talk about, we're going to say 11 to 15 knots with some periods of higher winds. And then we get to Datascope Charleston, Datascope with weather flow. Here's our southern Florida mapping into the Keys, and you can see the higher winds down there. And as we go north, that's further evidence of where that troughing is creating that stronger gradient. We go further north into Charleston, we're seeing a stronger gradient build to Winyah Bay to our north, which is a good sign because that means that the winds are on the up that way, and that means that that ultimately points to the fact that we could have a stronger gradient along our area as the morning heats up. So right now we're showing 11 knots in the harbor and 10 knots to Folly Beach. As winds are slowly starting to turn to the northeast. Our Isle of Palm sensor is down right now, so we won't have that one to rely on. The Sullivan's Island sensor is land shadowed, so the only sensor we really have to rely on is the harbor and Folly Beach Pier for this east-northeast turn. So keep that in mind. If we look at our Folly Beach details, here's our modeling guidance for the week. We blow that up just a little bit. Some of these models are keeping right in the low teens, but some of that heating and that gradient element, we could see 13 to 17 knots again, like I said. As we go through the week in GFS, here we are. We have this north over to easterly flow each day, building a little bit on Tuesday from that high pressure out in the Atlantic. And as we go into Wednesday, the models are picking up some higher winds along the beaches, but we know that the marine laying will probably keep that down. So we're we're going to probably call for Wednesday being somewhere between 8 to 12 knots on the beaches and 16 to 20 knots inland. And that lasts through Thursday, where that cold front starts to move overhead. So I think that's going to do it for the Chucktown wind report. I'll be back either tonight or tomorrow morning if anything significant changes. Until then, have a good day, and thanks for watching.